And I spend a lot of time trying to inform my friends and my professional colleagues about the dimensions of the crisis and what we need to do, and try and get people to think in different ways about this. And I think one of the things, Andy, that you and I talked about that night in Cambridge has to do with our sensitivity and awareness of different levels of time scale. And what I mean by that, I was at a symposium a few years ago when one of the principal speakers started quizzing people in the audience. What's our biggest source of energy? Well, I know what our biggest source of energy is. Our biggest source of energy is sunlight. But that wasn't the answer that he wanted. Because if you say that, if I say to you, we get all our energy is solar, except for thermonuclear power, right? All the rest of our energy is solar energy. It's just a question of how old the solar energy is. When we burn gasoline or oil or coal, we're burning solar energy from hundreds of millions of years ago. And to me, it's important to recognize that it's all ultimately solar energy. But you see, we have respect in our culture for things that we deem old. We're upset because people from the new government in Egypt are talking about tearing down the pyramids. Well, because they're old. Yeah, I can dig it. We were upset when the Taliban destroyed those Buddhas because they were old. You see something that belonged to your great-great-grandfather, or you see the cave paintings, and we have reverence for them because they're old, because they carry with them the sense that humanity's been here for a long time and that there's deep resonance in that. I'm a woodworker, among other things. It's a pretty nondescript piece of wood. This is a type of wood called kauri, and it comes from a peat bog in New Zealand. It's pulled out of a peat bog in New Zealand. This has been, obviously it's been machined. It didn't come out with flat edges. It's 50,000 years old. The tree that this wood came from was growing before there were human beings in New Zealand, I think. And at the time that this tree was growing, the sunlight that this tree metabolized shone on human beings in the beginning stages of the development of our civilization. It was a culture of hunter-gatherers. So there's a sense that if I hold this piece of wood, this is sunlight from 50,000 years ago. And that's a drop in the bucket compared to what we're destroying every time that we burn coal. We're burning coal, we're burning sunlight that's hundreds of millions of years old. Now I'll tell you about this piece of wood. I have some pieces of this downstairs in my shop, and I make things out of it. And you don't take a piece of 50,000-year-old wood and run it through a power planer, turn it into sawdust. That's, what's the right word? It's disrespectful. It's ignoring just the sheer mass of time that's involved in this. A piece of 50,000-year-old wood, if I have to sand it, I'll sand it over a sheet of clean paper, and I'm going to save every bit of the sawdust. I don't really know why. I don't know what use I'm going to have for 50,000-year-old sawdust, but I can't just throw it out. That would be crazy. And what we do when we burn coal is we take 500 million-year-old sunlight and we turn it into trash. We release the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and we use it, you know, to heat our homes when we're not there, to leave our office building fully illuminated in the middle of the night when no one's there. We use it to power our flat screen televisions and our giant billboards and all of the waste and detritus of our industrial capitalistic civilization. And to me, that's many orders of magnitude worse than taking a 50,000-year-old piece of wood and running it through a power planer and turning it into sawdust and throwing it in the compost. It's a deep order of disrespect. If we look at the total span of time that human beings have been on the planet, we have hundreds of thousands of years of human tradition, times that we have been with one another, growing through different environmental circumstances in different places in the world, through thousands of different models of culture, trying things. The cultures that didn't work died out, the cultures that did work remained. We've learned so much. And none of it has any meaning if we turn it into trash, if we throw it all away. I'm a singer. And I studied, living in India, I studied the traditional classical music of India, which is at least 1,000 years old. There's a lineage of teacher-to-student transmission that goes back 1,000 years. I can personally trace my own pedagogical ancestry in Indian music back 20 generations before it gets kind of fuzzy. And really, 20 human generations isn't that much. It's a very small thing. It's still enough for me to get a sense. If I sing a song that's 500 years old, I'm in communication with people who lived 500 years ago. I'm singing their song. And if I sing that song, then it also suggests to me that in my life as a music teacher that I should think about making sure that there's a future so that 500 years from now people can sing that song, or they can sing a song that is contemporary. So the climate movement, to me, it's more connected with the continuity of human culture and the need for us to be able to communicate with our long ago ancestors and our long time to come descendants. And we do that through the mechanisms of culture. We do that through our traditions, through our ideals, through our music, through all of the things that make up a human culture. And when I see what goes on with global warming and with the climate crisis, what I see happening is something that threatens to undermine that threatens to take the beautiful organic edifice of human culture and turn it into trash. And to me, that's just insupportable. I cannot stand it. It offends me aesthetically, it offends me morally, it troubles my sleep, and it makes it that much harder for me to do my work. My work in the sense of the transmission of culture, when I teach my students, when I teach my daughter. These are the things that we do when we carry on a human culture, when we make humanity a phenomenon that exists over countless thousands of years. And to the extent that we subscribe to an ideology that takes no account of the magnitude of time scale that we exemplify on this planet. That, make no mistake, the amount of time that human beings have been on the planet is vanishingly small compared with the amount of time that DNA has been on the planet. And the amount of time DNA's been on the planet is vanishingly small compared to the amount of time that the planet has been here. And we're going to take that and run it through the power planer of industrial society and turn it into trash? I'd love to say I don't think so, but I see that as what we're doing. When we burn coal in a thoughtless and heedless and unthinking fashion, we're destroying all that ancient sunlight. And to me, I spent some time thinking about this. Yeah, we should burn coal. We need to burn coal. We need to burn coal on sacred occasions. Take a tiny piece of coal the size of your thumb. Perhaps I should be cremated with a tiny piece of coal, so that the flames that consume my body include sunlight from long before human beings emerged on the planet. To me, that's the correct use of coal. That's the correct use of oil. The correct use of gasoline. We shouldn't be taking that ancient sunlight and burning it in our cars, idling outside Starbucks while we run in and get a double mocha, non-fat, soy, cappuccino, or whatever. That's disrespectful. And only when we have enough respect for the magnitude of time scale, for the grand sweep of our planet's history, then we can come to a realization that, maybe we shouldn't be just burning this stuff up casually.